everyone, and welcome to our Healthy Living segment with Denise Stegall, our longevity specialist. And we're talking about self-care and how it affects your self-confidence. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. We talk about self-care so much, and it's kind of almost like a word or a phrase that's overused. But when we really think about what is self-care, so when you hear the phrase self-care, what immediately comes to your mind?
Well, journaling and meditation.
Okay. When I looked up a definition, if you will, of self-care, I came up with something. I kind of did a mishmash of a couple of things that I read. Self-care is a proactive and intentional approach to self-preservation that enables us to thrive and flourish in all areas of our life. So yes, journaling is a big part of that. You need to get the kind of the crap that's in your head, you need to get that out. Very often when we're journaling, we're writing about, our thoughts, our feelings, our desires. That's a huge part of self-care, but it goes deeper than that. When you think about self-care, people who spend time and really carve out the time to do self-care are actually cultivating what a positive self-image. So they're uplifting themselves. They're making themselves important because they are important, and that uplifts the way they look at themselves, the way they feel about themselves. It increases their self-esteem and truly, I think, our self-worth. And when you feel, I have good self-worth, you know what? You're worthy of the opportunities that come your way. Think of a time when, maybe you weren't doing a lot of self-care. You were busy, doing, and kind of neglecting yourself. What were those conversations that you were having inside your head? What were those conversations?
Well, I think it's a lot of negative conversations, right? So we're so it's the saying is if you talk to your friends like you talk to yourself, you wouldn't have any friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. When we're not practicing self-care, and self-care could be, anything from, taking a 10-minute shower instead of a 5-minute shower. It could be, just as we always talk about, just walking out in nature. Some mornings, not in January, February, but some mornings I'll just walk outside with my coffee and listen to the birds. I have the window open right now and I can hear the birds singing. And to me, that's self-care. If I didn't pay attention to that, and all I did was sit at my computer and work, I would be, one, exhausted. And two, I would feel like I wasn't getting anywhere because, when you're just sitting in front of a computer, working, you're taking off boxes, but what are you really accomplishing?
Yeah, I find that, well, yeah, this morning it was a heat wave. It was 50 degrees when I got up this morning as the sun's coming up. But yesterday or the day before, I went to take my book and my coffee out on the back porch and I stepped outside and I went, whoo, it's a little chilly. But it was 43 degrees. So I put on socks and a winter coat and I had my blanket, but I still went outside. And then as the sun's coming up, it started to warm and I felt better.
Mhm. Exactly. Self-care, we think it's got to be, oh, we've got to go, to a spa, we got to get a massage. Those are great things, let me say. They are definitely great things, but they're
Nothing wrong with
not
that.
necessary. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But they're not things that you can do on a daily basis to take care of yourself. What I find when people neglect their self-care is they really start to fall into destructive habits. And I'm all about those healthy habits, right? Destructive habits, what do? They overeat, they get stressed, they take on too many things. They're like, okay, sure, well, I'm going that way anyway, so I'll pick up your kid and I'll go do the grocery shopping and do, whatever the litany of things that they're been asked to do. And essentially everybody else's needs come first.
And you said overeat, but before you go further, I want to just stop you for a second because it's not just overeat. They're not eating too much of the good stuff. They're overeating, but they're also making bad food. Not they, but you make bad food choices
Mhm.
in under those circumstances. So yes, you might be eating too much. And yes, it looks like a bag of potato chips where it might have looked like some snap peas on a good day.
Very, very true. It is, when I think of this destructive habits about what people are overeating, and sometimes people could be under eating in calories, but
Mhm.
eating just crap. Like you said, it's the potato chips, it's the, stopping at the quick trip on the way to pick somebody up and they pick up a soda or they drive through McDonald's. You can get a little McDonald's hamburger, a kiddie meal. It's not that many calories, but if that's what you're eating, your body's going, wait a minute, this isn't good. And I don't know about you. I don't remember the last time I had one of those fast food burgers, but I don't feel well when I eat them. So if you're overeating and you're eating the wrong things, or even undereating and eating the wrong things, now your stomach's bothering you. Your tummy's going, oh, this isn't good. You've got indigestion, maybe some reflux. And then how does that make you feel?
It's a spiral, and it is, and
Mhm.
it's difficult. I was listening to a podcast, not this one, but another one. I was listening to a podcast, and it was um, talking about somebody that had overcome all of these really incredible things that had happened to him, and he was talking about the importance of the foundation of the 6 things that he does every day. And there was a point where he had relapsed a little bit, and he noticed that his 6 foundational important um, things to build self-confidence in the morning were waning. And so he had to reel that back in and realize that he had sidestepped a little bit. And that's why he started making choices that probably were on the borderline of not really good for him.
Absolutely. And I give him a lot of credit. 6. Most of the time,
Yeah.
I try to stick with 3.
Yeah.
Three Musketeers, your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s. We can remember things in threes. The more we start adding, now, of course, if you're just starting, those 1, 2, 3s are essential. Once you create habits like this gentleman obviously had, then adding 4 and 5 and 6 makes sense. Because once something's a habit, it's a no-brainer. You're not thinking about it anymore. If you've got 1 down, you can do 4, right? But one of the things I think is really, really important when it comes to self-care, and I know because I'm a woman, we are really bad at this. Ready? Acknowledge your achievements.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
even the little things. So one of the people that I follow, he does these things called plus ones.
Mm.
And I think this is brilliant. And why I can't think of his name off the top of my head, it's going to drive me crazy. I have his book upstairs, but he calls them plus ones, and it basically is, as you're going through your day, what's something that you aced? You know what? You got to work. You didn't get frustrated in traffic. You didn't yell at anybody. Hey, plus 1. You picked a green smoothie over, an egg sandwich for breakfast. Plus 1. I love that concept because when you start thinking about this towards the end of the day, you're like, hey, little achievements, little steps absolutely make huge leaps and bounds, put together. So I think
I had +1 today.
What's your plus 1?
I did little baby jumping jacks today. I haven't done a jumping thing for almost 2 years, but this little hip is working.
Right.
Because she said, where I was in CrossFit, she says, do some jumping jacks. And I looked at her, I'm like, so what's my modification? She goes, jumping jacks. Okay. Because she knows what I can do. My brain didn't know what I could do. And I'm like, I don't think I could do this. And all of a sudden, my body took over. Yeah, plus
I
1.
love it.
That was actually a +10. I don't even
There
want
you
1 for
go.
that.
Plus 10. I love it. I love it. And think about it. Just as you were telling me about that, your spirit just was completely uplifted. Like
Totally.
you stood taller, sat taller, and you had this big smile on your face. Talk about boosting your own morale, right?
Right?
We don't need somebody else like patting us on the back. Shoot, we could do that ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think I talk about this one all the time. It's about setting goals, setting those achievable goals.
Mhm.
I think as women, we go, okay, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and I'm going to do it in 5 weeks. Really? Let's step back. Let's do, okay, 20 pounds. Okay. How about let's do 5 pounds in a month? Let's be realistic here. And I think when we think about goals in the small, like kind of the plus one concept, I think that's how we actually achieve them. Not just achieve them, we feel good about them. Because if you need to lose 20 and you've lost two, doesn't make you feel good. But
No,
if
and
you
then
need to,
those two were important.
absolutely, you've got to lose two before you can lose 20. But if you've lost two and your goal for this first goal is 5, woohoo,
You're on the way.
right? You're on your way.
Mhm.
And I think the last few things real quickly, surround yourself with positive people. Listen to positive podcasts like this one here, Discovering Rising Tides. And truly to really pay attention to what you're seeing on social media or on television.
And
Those,
comparing yourself.
yes, they can
And don't
absolutely
do that.
tear your self-esteem apart. And when it comes to self-care, it can completely derail it because you're sitting in front of watching a screen, or you're sitting in front of the television. So
Mhm.
those are things to really be careful with, because they do change, they do affect your thoughts, and they can affect your beliefs in yourself. You're looking at these women who are 22 years old walking down the runway, and they're 6 foot tall, and they're thin and all this. I'm 5'3" and I'm 53 years old. No, I'm not. I'm 5'1" and I'm 53 years old. I'm never going to look like that. But if that's what I keep looking at, I keep seeing, I'm going to start to feel bad about myself. And that's not good self-care.
Mhm.
And then my final thought, and I know you and I have talked about this before, is to really to cultivate a habit of gratitude. It's those little things that we have in life that really matter. It's
Mhm.
not the big car, it's not the boat, it's the lovely conversation, it's the text message from for me with from my nephew today. It's those little things that really matter in life.
Mhm.
So gratitude is such a big part of self-care, because if we can be grateful for ourselves, we can be grateful for everything else that we have and everyone else in our lives.
Wonderful. Thank you, Denise.
Certainly, you're very welcome. Thank you for having
What a
this
great
conversation with
conversation.
me.
Yes, I love it. And you catch more of Denise and her wonderful conversations. Always check out a new podcast as it comes out. Thanks so much for listening. Hello, everyone. This is Jean Gallagher, Discover Rising Tides, and I want to just take a moment to talk about my friend, Denise Stegall. I am honored to call her as a friend, and I'm so grateful that she gives us her insight during our shows, each show, and talks about healthy living, eating real food. You hear Denise say, eat real food a lot. Well, she means it, and she knows what she's talking about. She is an amazing healthy living coach, curator at Living Healthy List. And if you ever have any questions about what is real food, why does it matter, how does that apply to me, how do I change, what do I need to do, how do I even create a healthy living shopping list, make sure that you call her. She is your healthy living coach, and you can find her at healthylivinglist.com. Welcome everyone. My name is Jean Gallagher, and welcome to Discover Rising Tides, how the outside makes the inside better. And I'm excited to be here with Maxine Kozler. Hi, Maxine. How are you?
Hi, Jean. Great to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited for this conversation. We have a lot to talk about. And so Maxine, one of her many hats, she's the executive director of the Mission Community Services in the county of SLO in California, through the Women's Business Center. But Maxine, give us the shortish version of the many hats that you currently wear, and then we'll get started.
Oh, absolutely. So for the past 12 years, I've been running a venture capital firm called LDR Ventures. And through that, we invest in startup companies. But we specifically started focusing on female founders and founders of color, and really helping them get a seat at the table, and mentoring them around pitching and getting access to capital. And that led me into nonprofit and foundation work, which then led me to wanting to spend full time doing that. So 1 year ago, I became the executive director of Mission Community Services, and it's a nonprofit based in San Luis Obispo. And we host a program called the Women's Business Center, which is an SBA program. And we do that for San Luis Obispo, Monterey, and Kern County, California, where we help everyone, but obviously we have a focus on women and underserved communities to start or grow their business, to really create economic development for individuals so that they can both, afford life, which is more and more challenging, but also just, grow prosperity within their communities.
That's a lot. So that's a lot of a couple of things. That's a huge territory for those that aren't familiar with California. California is kind of large in itself, but those 3 counties are quite large. And also, it's such an underserved section of entrepreneurship. Would you agree?
Yeah, I that, really getting the fundamentals in is so important. Starting a business has just become so fashionable, and what it really takes to do it. And people find out really quickly. We're trying to get to them before they find out in a really bad way. We want people to start businesses and thrive and succeed, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of preparation and a lot of hard skills.
You mean you can't just start a business by opening a TikTok account? What the heck?
I know, right? You would think. You would think. Yeah, there's a little more to it, but like that spirit, we don't want to ever dampen anyone's spirit around, hey, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do it. But we want to make sure that they're set up and they're protected.
And I want to get into how you currently support businesses and new businesses. But I also want to ask you first, what is that transition like from into a nonprofit organization? How does that differ from what you were doing before?
Oh my goodness. Boy, was it huge. I mean, huge. And, this is my 3rd career, I would say. And I love it. And I'm so grateful. And I love the idea of being new and asking lots of questions and getting to say all the time, well, I don't know. I just got in a nonprofit. I don't know. How does it work? How do you do these things? Big difference, because in venture capital, we're constantly fundraising. And I like that. I have no problem with that. But it's private. It's private fundraising. And in nonprofit, more often than not, as I'm learning, we're grant funded, and we're mostly government granted funded, as well as banks and other corporations. It's highly restrictive. So you could be a small nonprofit. There's huge nonprofits as well. But like any business, we're role modeling for our own clients what it's like to be a small business, where in some ways you're small enough to make changes and move fast. But as a nonprofit that's governmentally funded for the most part, there's a lot of restrictions, a lot of reporting, a lot of things we can and can't do. And so, in many ways, like another business, there's all these I's you got to dot and T's you got to cross to make sure everything's covered and taken care of. But I feel like, and I tell my staff this, my job is to make sure they can do their job. That's the biggest thing that I do. We have phenomenal program directors and program coordinators, and they're out there in the community and they're building events and they're finding out what their clients really need. And I need to let them do that. So I need to make sure everything else is taken care of. But yeah, I would just say it's just more regimented actually than the for-profit institutions that I've been in. And I always chose kind of smaller or startup phase companies, and then I handed them off as they got bigger because I didn't want the restrictions.
And so what does I'm sure that many people don't know what the Women's Business Center is, first of all, and and that there are women business centers in many locations or similar situations in many locations as well. So one, talk about that structure, but really what I want to focus on is, what does the Women's Business Center do, and what is your responsibility to talking with people that are starting a business?
Absolutely. So gratefully, this was a program started by the SBA, the Small Business Administration. We got involved in 2006. It's been around about 30 years, and they just felt that they needed a very specific initiative to help women start and grow businesses. So that was the mandate and the focus. It is a national program. There's about 150 centers across the country. They're actually trying to make their way up to about 180. So great. And we have a wonderful national lobbying organization that works with us. So California is the biggest. We have, I believe, 20 centers now.
Oh, wow.
We're so big. But many states have one for the entire state. So it definitely, fluctuates. What the Women's Business Center does, and specifically for us, is we work either with women or anyone with an existing small business, and small business means under 50 million in revenue per year. So that's a huge
small business.
That's a huge small business. Yes. So either people with an existing small business, or who has an idea and they're looking to start a small business.
What a huge realm, from going from an idea to somebody that has 30 million in revenue.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big, and not everyone's going to get there, and not everyone's supposed to get there. And that's a big piece of it, is sitting down and talking with someone is, how big do you want to be? What do you need? Like, what is your vision? People do come in with a huge vision and want to be $100 million company. And a lot of people are like, I just want to take my side hustle into my full-time job. And
just want to make tacos and do great for the community, right?
Everywhere in between. Exactly. So what we do is we do three things. We have an actual course, a 12-week course on how to write a business plan and getting you set up in that. And we're hoping we can get you pretty close to finishing that course with your business plan. We have lots of workshops throughout the month on every topic. It could be HR, it could be accounting, it could be legal, it could be marketing. So we try and assess constantly with our clients and our community, what are the skills they need. And we find that more than not, they want hard skills. They want to, like, intro to QuickBooks. Am I ready to get onto QuickBooks? Or marketing through Facebook. Like, how do you actually do that? It's funny, like the wellness stuff and how do you balance, and they're not looking to us for those things. They're looking for us for the actual skills, and other areas in life are giving them more of the sort of the wellness and balance tips. And then, which is the most popular, is we have one-on-one individual business consulting. So you can come in and you can meet with a business counselor and one-on-one and just unload everything from your brain that is swirling around and really lay it out and flesh it out. Where are you? Where are you looking to go to? And what are the next steps? And all of our services are at no cost.
Oh, wow.
Anyone can come in and, basically we just need to show who we're serving, but it is no cost. I mean, we have some programming that costs money and we take donations, but basically we're here to offer our services for free to help you get started and grow.
And the people that work there, that are consulting these entrepreneurs, what is their background?
So that varies, because we need people who cover every area. Some people are finance people. They're just going to sit and they're going to look at your forecasting and how to get you set up with a budget, and learn what a P&L is, profit and loss statement, as you know. A lot of marketing people who, whether they specialize in how do you build your website and get that ready. Someone who's just great at Canva, and they can really help you create all your marketing assets that you need. We just had an HR speaker come in to talk about, what, do you have employees? Are they part-time? Are they full-time? Or is everybody a 1099 independent contractor? Do you have that set up right? What are the rules around it? So we have different people coming in based on the need. And then we have some generalists who are just good kind of from A to Z. These are all the things you need to be thinking about.
And what are some of the types of businesses that you've seen come through lately? Is that, I'm sure they're all across the spectrum.
Definitely. And that's the other thing, being in one community, it is amazing the huge span of people and businesses that we'll meet. And then for 3 counties, it is, I think we've seen kind of almost every area of business and every type of business owner. And that's what we're looking to do, is to reach out to make sure anyone and everyone can come and work with us. There's 2 big topics right now. So I'll give you the 2 hot topics in business, especially not only in our county, because we talk nationally with our counterparts. Number 1, childcare. Anything to do with childcare. A daycare center, an after-school program, a preschool. That is the number 1. We are looking to help anyone who has an existing childcare, and it could be commercial, it could be the in-home ones. We want to make sure that they are thriving and that they are succeeding and that they stay around. And then we were looking for anyone who has ever thought about opening one. And we want to hold their hand, and we partner with an organization called CAPSLO, Community Action Partnership. And they are throughout 11 counties in California.
Wow.
They help people with all the initial registration and licensing to become a child care center of some sort. So,
I like what you said, and I don't know, maybe it's just me and my brain, but the Small Business Administration for me and that type of an environment, I would think it would be for startups just getting started. But I think the important message here too is, if you're already in business and you'd like a leg up and not reestablish, but create a really great foundation for what you already have and ramp that up, your services are a great option. Because what I hear from you is, yes, there are many daycares out there, but maybe those daycares could use, and using that as an example, as you said, use that additional support.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've heard, anecdotally through our partnership with CAPSLO and through our own consultants, is a lot of people will start the in-home daycare because they have their own children there. And so this is a way for them to stay home with their children, guide them, and then they take in a couple other kids to the capacity they're allowed. And within 2 or 3 years, their kids age out and start going to elementary. And then they're like, wait a minute, I'm not going to just shut this down. But now I'm really looking at a business. So now this is not just, well, I know all these other parents because I have kids the same age and we meet at the park and I say, no, now I'm going to have to learn how to market my business. Now I'm bringing in clients that are paying, because when you have your own kids in your own center, you're not paying for your own kids usually. So now it's like, wait a minute, I have a real business here. And so it's 2, 3, 4 years in that we have some of these childcare owners come in and say, wait, now I need to make this a real business. So that's like one scenario where it's like, this is not about launching. Our quote is, we're partners for the life of your business.
What a great resource, and what a great and important message to get out there for other women entrepreneurs that have started something. And what are the statistics of how many years in a business? That sweet spot, is it 5 to 7 years, that if you make it past that point, you have a really it's
about that. And there's a whole wave actually that also I've seen is people coming in to say, I'm ready to retire, I'm ready to sell, my kids don't want to take the business, whatever the scenario is. Like, what do we need to do to prepare our business for sale? And it could be marketing. Right now you have no profile, nobody knows, you're the best kept secret in town. it could be building your profile, it could be getting your financials ready to, for valuation. So again, it's the whole spectrum of the life of
So you can even help on the succession, the other end as well. Really interesting.
Yeah.
But I never, yeah.
I was saying a lot of people who, especially during COVID, they created all these side businesses, whether it was for passion or for economic reasons. And now we're very much at like, do I keep that business going? Do I try and make it into a full-time business? So there's a lot of choices between people with multiple businesses, and then they have to decide, which one am I really going to focus on, and, where do I want to take it? How big do I want to get it?
And I would think also too, the creativity of, well, here's my business and here's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. I sort of like it, but I don't want to lose what I've built, but I'd love to have it morph into something else.
Yes, very much.
And
so.
having that creativity and support from you all to be able to find the resources for that proper, well done transition.
Most definitely. A big case for that is the food businesses. So a lot of people will have like a cottage license to bake in their house and to sell at the farmers markets and maybe pick up a couple wholesale clients. But then they, we have several clients that are like, all right, I'm ready to open a store. I'm ready to open a bakery, or I'm ready to open that restaurant.
And that's a huge step.
That's a huge step. That's huge. So that's one area where we can really help. And even we've had people say, okay, you got to find commercial real estate. You have to understand how to negotiate for a commercial lease. And these are things that we can either help with guidance, or we can bring them, partner resources in to help.
Yeah. And there's so much that can be covered. And your position as the executive director overseeing all of this, it really leads to the experience that you've had in the past and through venture capitalism, and as well as your other experiences. So how have you felt your other jobs or your other responsibilities and other businesses have fed into this stage number 3 for you?
Yeah, I was saying before, I have absolutely come to learn in life, nothing is wasted. Nothing is ever wasted. Every single experience I've certainly ever had plays a role. It's influenced how I look at things today and what I learned and what I know. And so everything has kind of played a part in that. I mean, one of the big things is coming from venture capital. I mean, you have people coming in, and you want people coming in say, I'm going to do, I'm going to start at 100 million. I'm going to get to $500 million. And then, I finally want to have a 3 billion valuation before we go public. And that's the day-to-day conversation for the most part. So shifting to that's not, and there's always an exit. The whole idea is an exit, because as an investor, you don't make anything until there's an exit, until somebody sells or gets acquired or goes public. So shifting that to this, more of the businesses that we work with here, this is about people's lives. These are about communities. What works for your life? What are you looking to do for your life? What do you need? How much do you need to bring in? Are you looking to support jobs in your community? So the conversation is just much different, and I'm very aware of that. But the bottom line is the bottom line. There are just core skills and things you need to have, foundational pieces you need to have. What does it, if it's a food product, what does it cost to make that product? How much time does it take you? And then reasonably, how much can you sell it for? If the numbers just don't add up, they don't add up. You don't have something, and you have to let people know that. What kind of competition's out there? There's phenomenal food in San Luis Obispo, but there's a lot of it.
There's a lot of competition.
Yeah. So, you might make the best chocolate chip cookie in the world, but it's 10 other people here making pretty equally good cookies. So what's different?
Or the ice cream sandwich place that's in downtown SLO, let me tell you. With the cookie, yeah.
Oh yeah. So there, that's a lot of and then the terms used are like, what is the total addressable market? How big is the market for what you're trying to sell? You may love it, and you might have a handful of friends that love it, but is there a big enough market that wants this? And are they willing to pay what you need to charge given your costs? And you have to have those very real conversations.
Would you have imagined yourself working for a nonprofit 10 years ago?
Absolutely not. No way. So you never know. You never know. No, I think, continuing to be philanthropic, and funding other people running nonprofits and foundations, absolutely. Actually day-to-day running one myself, that's a surprise to me.
So how did you get into venture capitalism?
So I got in through my first career and passion was the music business. And so I'm from New York, so I was in New York City, and I used to go to LA a lot. And I was very much in the intellectual property section. So it's like we own the catalogs and we ran them, and branding for artists. Everything Jay-Z, Beyonce, Coldplay, Foo Fighters, you name it. And but they're a brand, and you have a couple jobs. You have someone new, you got to figure out how to launch the brand. You have someone who exists, you got to keep that brand going. And then you need to make sure new generations, especially for music, because the music will live on no matter how old the artist gets and what happens. You need to keep reintroducing that brand to new generations. So that's, and that's in hindsight. In hindsight, looking back, I'm like, that's what I was doing. It was all about a brand, breaking a brand, keeping it valuable. So that led me into more consumer branding. And then what I just saw I would be at a expo or show with a lot of, brands who took a booth to try and launch whatever their product was, usually consumer products. And I was like noticing I just had a way where I would look at companies and I would be like, wow, that's not around. And there's a huge need for that. And especially once I got pregnant, then I was in the parenting world at that point. And that's where I really saw there were just some ideas and some things where I'm like, this could really hit. There's a huge need for that. And I could see expansion products outside of this core, their core hero product. And so I started helping these companies and consulting, mentoring, working for some, but very quickly I started asking, can I write a check? Can I be one of your investors? And it just we formed what's called a family office. And we started investing. And then what happened is I just started meeting more and more people, and I started asking them if they wanted to come into deals, very specifically women. Because what I was hearing is nobody asks women to write checks, to invest in something, to have equity. Like you could have, no offense, but there'll be like 10 dentists, male dentists, and they all own like 20 buildings together because all the banks are saying, hey, I want to kick in 10 grand, we're all going to buy this building, or doctors or lawyer, whoever it was. And even in finance, nobody asked the women to write check and to go into all these investments. So in terms of long-term financial planning, what do you have equity in? What are all your asset bases? So I started working with other female investors to get more women to write checks. And also we kind of figured they would, be more sensitive to looking at women founders. And to just also, we know we're truly head of household. We make 80% of the purchasing decisions. Like it's silly not to have women investing in companies. So I started putting together groups of women and we would go into investments together.
Interesting. And do you find that with that more of a female focus, that the types of businesses are different?
For the most part, yes. Yeah. Well, and also just because we were very consumer product focused, health, wellness, parenting, a lot of food. We've did a lot of food and beverage deals, things like that. But even food and beverage distributors. things like that. So we kind of span the gamut. A couple tech deals, tech platforms, legal tech, health tech, things of that nature. But you get they're slightly different. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it interesting when you take a moment and you look back and where different careers might not be 100% related, but there's this common thread that seems to pull from one and then attach to another and then get larger. It's like building a sweater and then get larger, and then another thread pulls into another business, and here you are just affecting so many businesses in the position that you're at, and how much better you are to be fueled to do this responsibility after doing everything that you've done before, because it's all interconnected.
100%. And I say this, to a lot of people that I mentor. I have a lot of people I mentor, just I believe highly in internships. So I always have a ton of interns, and just even saying it to our older son, and I say this, a lot of founders, a lot of small business owners, how do you know how to manage people if you haven't done the job? How are you going to even know what to ask them, what they're accountable for? So all those pieces along the way, I don't care if you were the receptionist or an executive assistant, or you were the barista at a coffee shop, you have knowledge on the front line that is so valuable to everybody the whole way up the chain. And I hope everybody up the chain is listening to every single person in the organization.
One thing that you said before I shift gears a little bit, and I really want to bring this up because I thought it was so important. And just to paraphrase you, and then you can put your own words into this, but you had said that you show up always being new. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's great when you're literally in a new situation where you get to just say, like, I don't know what that is. Explain that to me. This, and for decades or hundreds of years, it was true, women had to be 150% better than men at what they did to even get a shot. So I think that's so ingrained in us that, we have to know everything. We have to come across that we can handle anything, that we're overly competent. And the most competent people are the ones who are secure enough to say, like, you tell me, why do we do it that way? I just met with our accounting firm last week and something was done in a way, and I'm like, I don't get it. I'm like, I don't understand. I said, what am I missing? I kept saying to them, because it doesn't make sense to me why it had been done this way for a long time, which is one of the things to challenge. Why are things done this way? A lot of times there's a really good reason for it, but it's important to know it.
I think that's such an important skill. There, like you said, there's a piece of self-confidence that comes in, but there's also a piece of an ego that you have to leave at the door, and understand that because you're saying, I don't know, or I don't understand, tell me more about it, doesn't mean that you're less of a person or have less skills. It probably means you have more, because you're willing to set everything aside and say, I don't understand, rather than just faking your way through.
Yeah. And it's going to come back to get you too. I mean, especially in the job I'm in, if I don't understand what like a term is or why we're doing a thing, it's going to come back very quickly that like some reports do around that. And I didn't ask because, so yeah, it's in your best interest, but it is, you have to shift to the smarter people in the rooms. They're smart because they ask questions and they're willing to show that they don't know everything.
And in some situations, that smarter person in the room is the barista who's on the front line with the clients. It doesn't mean that it's the person in the back office that maybe is making a ton more money. They might not be, for that particular situation, the smartest person in the room.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. So everything that you've done carries a huge amount of responsibility for others. So how do you take care of yourself?
So yes, and that includes being a wife, being a mom. Yeah. And especially in this position I'm in now, I feel like I've felt it in a way I've never felt before, because to me, the responsibility of the trust that's been placed in me to help others directly in this manner is really, I've really felt that this past year, which I felt like aged me. I was like, oh my God, I never felt like a job aged me. So my passion and my family's passion is sports. We're a huge sports family. I have a lifelong love of tennis specifically. But when we moved during COVID, one of the only things you could do was play tennis because you had good, safe distancing for people. And I'd always played for fun and I'd watched forever. But I said, you know what? I'm going to learn how to really play for sure, for real, get the skills. And so, so it's been about 3.5 years now. I've been playing very passionately, and I'm on a couple of teams, and so that is, and it's funny because my intensity on the court was so great. I'm very competitive, and it was so intense. And I'd get partners who were so intense, and we were winning. Like, we were out there to win. Like, if someone said, okay, everyone, have fun in your match, we would look like, what are you doing?
And they're looking at you going, how did we get against you guys?
Yeah, no, we're here to
this
win.
isn't going to be fun.
But it was funny because then once I took this position, and just the time and the grind of the paperwork got so intense so fast, the reverse happened. I got on the tennis court and I'm like, I can't have intensity here. I need to have fun. And I was shocked. And it took like a year, and I play a fraction of what I used to play because I'm at work all the time. But I noticed like I had to switch, and now it's like I do play for fun, and I do have to enjoy myself on the court, and it cannot be about winning. I can't have two parts of my world that are that intense.
Oh, interesting.
That was a huge shift. Now, the other sport for our family is basketball. And I can watch a little peewee basketball tournament. I have an 11-year-old, and we're constantly at his tournaments. I've watched high school. We go to college games all the time, and then we're big NBA fans as well. I'm an insane fan. And one of my declarations this year is I will stop yelling at the refs, especially at the college games. We have courtside seats, Cal Poly University, and like the refs are right there. They're keeping their drinks like in front of me on my table. And I'm like, I gotta stop. So the passion's there, but there's just also so much respect for athletes and the work they put in and the dedication they put in, and to perform at any level, whether you're 11 or 20 or a 30-year-old best in the world. I just have so much respect. It's such an easy metaphor for just putting in the work, being a team player, literally being coachable. I mean, just everything kind of comes through sports, and you can have it in the arts too. You could be a ballet dancer and be in a rock band. It continues through kind of all of that, but sports is just such a great life lesson, I feel, for everyone, to really, have this other universe where you can just blatantly see these skills being built.
And if you're building a business, you have to be coachable, and you have to have all of those, that intensity and the willing to work hard at what passion you have. You have to have all of those attributes in order to be successful in your business. Because if you're just like, lackadaisical, I'm sure this business will work, and there's no fire, it might, but don't take a look.
You're certainly not going to get any money.
Yeah.
Nobody's giving money to anyone who's not coachable, or they will, and it's going to be a big problem. But and we used to say this when we were teaching people how to pitch, someone might throw actually probably every single pitch meeting, you're going to get a question you don't have an answer for. And you can say, yes, we thought about that, and we're really working on a response. We're trying to figure that one out. Or you could just say, wow, what an insightful question. You know what? Can we get back to you? Because we need to figure out what our answer is going to be to that. But thank you for bringing that up. That's all you have to say. But those are the people that I'm more interested in.
And so people that are outside of SLO and Monterey and Kern County in California, how How do they find their local women's business center? What are the steps so first, that's question number one, is how do they find it? But really before question number one, so which question number, whatever becomes before one, would be, why would they want to? What are some triggers that they should look for or listen to themselves and say, geez, maybe I should reach out?
So I just would say for anyone who has a business or wants to start a business, come in for just a first conversation. Just come and have a chat. Let us know, where are you at? Because out of that conversation is probably going to become really clear where we might be able to help you. So if you have an idea for a business, you've always wanted to start a business, or a new concept came to you and you're like, I think this could be a business. So we call that ideation. So we have ideation workshops. We have certain consultants that are great or talking to the people who just have an idea, and sit with you and start mapping it out and see, is this something you want to take the next steps? And that's something where we could help you build your business plan around it.
And so how do they find their local office? What's the easiest way to do that?
Okay, so two ways to do it is, one, you could just Google Women's Business Center, and if you're on Google or Bing or Edge, it's your IP should just show you where, or just put your zip code in, Women's Business Center, and put in your zip code, and it's going to take you right. It should take you right to it. It should come up in search first. They're all called Women's Business Center. You can also go to the Association of Women's Business Center website, which is awbc.org. And if you go to that website, all you do is type in your zip code and it will pull up the Women's Business Center for your zip code.
Great. Maxine, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. And thank you so much for your information and your insight. And I encourage anybody out there that has a business currently or is thinking about a business currently is to reach out to the resources, and especially these resources that cost zero. Yes. So other than your time to invest in learning about your business, this is such a great opportunity for everybody. But Maxine, thank you so much for your conversation today.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you so much for listening today. Today's show was sponsored by Seaside Solutions, my financial services company. As a business owner, it's easy to be pulled in many different directions, and often taking care of yourself plummets to the bottom of the list. For me, I find myself outside to reground. My time outdoors helps me manage my day more effectively and be more present for my clients. Through this, Discover Rising Tides was born. At Seaside Solutions, we truly believe that education is the foundation of financial wellness. Our primary focus is to provide guidance that is designed to help you achieve your long-term financial goals and visions. Working with a plan allows space for doing more things that you love, like being outside to make the inside better. If I can help you create or realign your plan, or if you would like to be added to my weekly newsletter, please let me know. This week's topic was 5 ways to set more achievable goals. Your referral means the big, beautiful world to me, and if I can help, please let me know. And thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.
We are audiostack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad. How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
Go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.